Hi, Bob. My name's Phil Gutt. I was president of the Rotary Club of Tucson in 2015-16.
That was an interesting year, Phil. What was going on in our club and around town in 2015 and 16?
I think 15-16 was a pivotal year for our club, Bob. We had just finished quite a series of car shows that were very successful. A lot of hard work went into that. And I think there was a feeling that we really needed to put some hard work similar to that into our club and bring it up to date. Our club's operations, our member experience, what we provided to them. Just some examples in the area of meetings, let's say. Our meetings were running too long, members told us. They're lacking kind of solid and intriguing content. The meeting flow was being interrupted with photo ops and member applause that was too frequent. We experienced a number of nonprofits that had not been selected by the club, but were parading to the programs looking for more money, either directly or indirectly.
Well, how did you address that? What you wanted to improve the meetings, I understand that, but that's a tough thing to do. It's like turning a battleship around. Our club is big and has its way of doing things. What action did you take?
It does take a while, you're right. We tried to put emphasis on quality programs first and foremost. We had Ken Tucker and Ted Kirikoff, who did a fabulous job. I think at the end of the year it was decided that ours was one of the best years in decades for strength of programs. We brought in the mayor. We had the TUSD candidates, the Pima County bond issue, the four-way test speech contest. Our U of A basketball coach, Sean Miller, brought in 220 people.
Wow.
All great successes, and we kept down the number of nonprofits that were not selected by the club to be funded.
Okay.
A new feature we introduced at the meetings was the inspiration. We'd always had invocation. We added this as an alternating option, and that has become very popular. In 5 years since, we've really seen the inspiration catch on. The younger prospective members in particular appreciated that. I think another thing that appealed to some of the younger crowd was having video presentations of our song rather than traditional just club members singing. So we sprinkled those throughout the year. You see those becoming more popular as the years go by.
You're trying to keep our club in tune with the new generation.
That's entirely an intent that we were trying to reach, yes. We also changed to the new Rotary logo for just a small thing, but our club lectern looked like something that had survived a fire. And we replaced that with something that was a little more modern, something we could be proud of. At every meeting, we kicked it off with an achievement that we highlighted, or maybe someone we had helped as a club, a beneficiary of our work. And this, I think, inspired our members to redouble their efforts, to do more, to achieve what we're trying to achieve. And it showed the non-members, hey, you could be part of this too. So every week we highlighted something that we had achieved as a club.
That's great. What about outside of meetings? The meetings are the key part of our club experience, but we do things outside of the meetings too, besides the car show. What did you do outside of meetings to make our club as good as you could?
Well, one advantage I had, I guess, is my years of working in management of nonprofit organizations. So I picked up along the way some ideas of how they work, what makes them better. I used that in writing my 2 Satarian articles as a president. So each week I tried to highlight how associations work, including Rotary, how to make them better, how to be engaged more in the group, what ways you can actively contribute your skills to make the organization you're part of better at achieving its mission.
That's hard work. An article every week, every Tucson.
Yeah, they don't do that anymore, I don't think. But I think when you were president, even they were doing that sort of thing. So I didn't want it to just be a rehash, though, of other things in the Tucson.
No, that's great.
One of the key things we focused on for the whole year was this concept among our members that you participate in whatever way you can. Everybody can't be expected to participate in the same way. We don't all have the same skills, maybe even the same financial position. And there was a tendency that was growing for people to say, gee, you didn't sell 50 car show tickets, but maybe you brought in a $50,000 sponsor, and somehow you had failed.
Well, let me interrupt here for a second.
Sure.
One of the things that I most remember about your presidency is this exact thought: help in every way that you can or that you want to. And I thought that was brilliant because it made people feel like, well, I can't afford to do this or that, but I can do this. And you kept on encouraging us to find the things that we could do and wanted to do. I call it kind of like round pegs and round holes. I mean, don't try to force somebody to do something they don't want to do. That's not going to keep them as a member. Nice job.
And if you can't contribute $1,000 to Polio Plus each year, but you can bring in a couple of new members, that helps the club.
Absolutely.
Maybe you can be a mentor. Maybe you can be in a doer position. You volunteer in committees. You're at the car show Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You sell car show tickets, yes, but perhaps at outside special events. Those count too. And we tried to make that emphasis so that people wouldn't be discouraged that, gee, I'm not doing something that's expected of me.
Excellent. Excellent. Did Reading Seed, how did the transition between Reading Seed and Make Way for Books happen?
That's a great question because we had a long run of success with Reading Seed and it had gone very well. The club decided, no, the new strategy is we're going to move to Make Way for Books. I think time has shown since then that that was a great move. The organization has really worked hard with Rotary to make it a two-way operation. They support us, they acknowledge us, we support them. They're very open to us participating in all of their events. It was a key moment in not just the car show, but the club as a whole.
Would you say that it was the engagement of Make Way for Books in our efforts more than Reading Seed did? Is that right?
I think so. They seem to be more interested in making the most of the relationship. And perhaps we're a larger portion of their funding there. I don't know, but they certainly came all out, and they have been, as I've seen in years since, a full player in that partnership.
I agree.
We also looked at other groups that we might support. I noted the Southern Arizona Rescue Association and an organization that helped high schoolers learn a trade as being groups that we provided funding to, in addition to some we traditionally had over the years. So a little bit of an expansion of some of the avenues we looked at to help the community. Mm-hmm. We did adopt a new 5-year strategic plan during 2015-16, and that serves us right up until Centennial Year. That was an important achievement, I thought. We've had a series of strategic plans over the years, and I do believe they help the club. They particularly help the oncoming leadership to understand, okay, what is the roadmap we should be following here?
And gave us consistency from administration
Definitely.
to administration. That is good.
We had a supercar show. Roger Harwell led the way. The weather was not cooperative that year, and that was a first. But in spite of that, it was still quite successful. And that's something that our club can be proud of, too. At the end of the year, we looked at all the goals we'd established with Rotary International, and we surpassed them all. In fact, we reached just about 4 times what we had projected as our goal for the annual fund giving. The club did earn the coveted RI Presidential Citation, so I think that's recognition of the work that the members did. Even at the board level, we tried to become more strategic, a little bit more efficient. We used, for the first time, the consent agenda, which has really trimmed back the discussion at the board meeting on procedural and administrative items, giving us time to discuss more strategies and ideas for the future. We have part of that to thank is Dorina York, our executive director. She was really coming into full stride there during her 3rd year. We even made her member that year in recognition of how important she is to the club. So that's something that I think is worthy of noting. We did have a clearer understanding at the end of the year with our club foundation about the relationship between the club and the club foundation. We had established that the car show is owned by the club. The club needs to be the one guiding the car show in its operation and its conduct. That was a big improvement. We also talked about the financial commitment that the club makes to the foundation and how the foundation in return needs to acknowledge that commitment every year. Keep the strong support from our members putting money into that foundation. That's going to benefit everyone. It was a year where we had to renegotiate our meeting contract with the Doubletree Hotel. And everyone was eager to stay if it was at all possible. In the end, the committee came up with a negotiated contract that was probably better than we expected we could get. And it was long-term, it kept us there. The facility has great capabilities and that has served us well. So that was something that was critical to the operation, maybe behind the scenes as far as most members knew, but it worked out extremely well.
Well, that's quite a list of accomplishments that you can be proud of, Phil. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions though on a personal level.
Okay.
You came into this job with lots of business experience running the Association Management Club, the first one in Arizona, I understand. And you've dealt with hundreds of organizations in that time frame and gained a lot of skills as a result of that. But then you became president. What did you gain personally from this experience? What would you look back and say, what did you get better at? What did you learn? What do you think?
Certainly got better at being the MC of a weekly meeting. That's not something I had to do, especially for such a large organization, right. So many moving parts, so many things that can change on the fly. And I enjoyed it too, so that was a double benefit for me. I think the coordination of all the volunteers, and particularly the volunteer leaders, the board members, the chairs of the committees, was a challenge and something that I think I got better at because of my experience with Rotary. Mm-hmm. I've often been on the side, or nearly always been on the side, of being the staff of an association rather than the leadership, and it's a different role. I did have a chance to lead the State Society of Association Execs. That I think helped me with Rotary. Working with Dorina was excellent experience. She grew, I think, quite a bit in understanding what her role was as the chief staff person of the Rotary Club at Tucson. So that, and I think making a particular effort to meet each of the members of the club and talk to them individually. It's tough to do when there's 245, 255 members out there. But as president, I thought it was important to at least reach out to everyone once, if not more, and talk with them, find out who they are, be able to know their name and their face. It takes some people years to know everyone in the club, and I'm guessing some probably never even get there.
And you did a good job of that. One final question for you, Phil. With your experience as president of our club, what if the new president-elect of our club came to you and said, Phil, what advice do you have for me? What should I avoid doing? What should I do? What advice would you give an incoming president?
Well, a couple things pop to mind, Bob. One, I'd say the year prior, get the pulse of the club as best you can. Talk to as many people you can, see what the members are thinking, what are some of the challenges, what are some of the things that people love about their experience with the club, things they maybe think could be better. It'll help guide you. Look, of course, for good leadership in those roles that board members you appoint and committee chairs that you appoint. Make sure they know that just because you ask, they don't have to say yes. If they don't think they're a good fit for the spot, you're probably better off looking somewhere else.
Original plan.
Find something else for them to do. Again, speak to their and work to their strengths rather than trying to, as you say, put the round peg in the square hole. So I would certainly suggest that. Work with Dorina, get to know the office operation so that you have a real good communication setup. Everybody knows what's happening, particularly between staff and leadership. Those are so important. Try to keep the club progressing, of course. Don't let it languish and become stale. Look ahead a year, 2, 3, 4 in actions that are going to be taken. And try to project, okay, how's this going to play out over time? Sometimes it takes multiple years for things to happen or to come to fruition. Take that view best you can, use your board's talents, and lead that way. So those would be suggestions.
Thank you. Phil, you have done a great job at portraying the issues you faced and the challenges you've met and the accomplishments you had. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. It's an experience that I'm glad I went through.